Good Friday morning, and thanks for joining us from the Ohio AgNet, the voice you know with the news you trust studio, sponsored by Grain Equipment Company, where innovation meets execution. I'm Dusty Sonnenberg. Looking outside the studio window, cloudy skies, a few sprinkles out there right now. It's 48 degrees on the barn thermometer, and on and off shower opportunities the next several days in the forecast. The good news is temperatures should be much warmer as we go through the weekend. I'm joined today by Jerry Bambauer. Jerry is a farmer, soybean farmer from Ohio, also a board member on the Ohio Soybean Council. Jerry, we want to change directions maybe from what a lot of conversations are about soy, and we want to talk about aquaculture, in particular how soybeans play such an important role in the aquaculture industry. And you've got to literally travel to different parts of the world and see that happen.
Yes, I've been very fortunate in seeing several different things. Right now I'm vice chair of the Soy Aquaculture Alliance. I've served as chair for them for 4 years previously there, so spent a lot of time working with aquaculture. We are presently working with a lot of the domestic aquaculture, trying to get soy into our feeds there. We've got a really good research panel that are from the four major soy aquaculture feed manufacturers, and they go over our research projects and kind of try and develop it. Even though they're four competitors, they still do a good job for us trying to pick out research projects to help incorporate soy into the aquaculture feed industry there. So we're looking to work with that. We also are trying to help out some in the foreign with USEC and WISH, working with them also from some of our research that they're going to try and incorporate that into some of their foreign projects that we're working with there. So it's a good experience, and unfortunately we're having a little challenge getting a lot of aquaculture into the U.S. We've got some permitting problems and challenges to get through that process. 90% of our seafood that we eat is imported. So, we have a large opportunity as far as consumption of the product. We have some projects where we're looking at huge feeding facilities, from the egg laying to the final product to the slaughterhouse, going into the retail merchandising, where it would be top to bottom completely through one industry representative facility. So hopefully that works through the process.
Here in the Midwest, a lot of times we think about livestock being the number one consumer of soy meal and soy proteins. Oftentimes we just sort of have that disconnect, I think. But around the world, it's aquaculture. It's fish that are one of the largest consumed protein sources out there, and a tremendous opportunity for soybean farmers.
Right. Basically, right now, the major use of soybean meal into the aquaculture industry is the catfish industry. And they have had very good success. At a high percentage of their protein in their feed, it does come from soybean meal. A number of the other aquaculture species kind of have a little allergic reaction to some of the straight soy itself, some of the components of it, where now we're starting to modify the soy a little bit, break it down. Some of it's fermented. Our one staff member from Ohio has developed a enzyme product called Enzymil that looks very good. In the process, it does raise the cost of our soybean product from where we're at in the mid-3s to maybe in the 7s to 8s, but it also increases the protein from in the 40s up into the 60s.
Oh, wow.
And, it helps in that respect, and it's very favorable to the digestive system of a lot of our aquaculture species there. So we're looking at changing the things. Regardless of what we use from the soy, we're trying to replace fish meal and fish oil. Fish meal's in the $2,000 to $2,200 a ton. Soybean meal is $300 a ton. Our modified stuff is in the 7s and 8s. So everybody is trying to reduce their feed costs into the aquaculture industry. So, we're working to incorporate more of it all the time into that.
To hear the rest of my interview with Jerry, check out the featured audio section at ohioagnet.com. Well, let's take a look now at your Friday weather forecast brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com.
Scattered rain showers moving through Ohio for your Friday. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin. Let's take a look at your forecast update. Minor disturbance coming in from west to east today. I think everybody's got a shot at half an inch of moisture through this. Light, gentle showers for the most part. I'm not concerned about anything that's too upsetting of said apple cart. This leads to a warm, dry, and windy day tomorrow ahead of our next frontal boundary. We should be well above normal on temperatures for Saturday. Good drying, but don't get used to it. That could be the only good drying day that we see out of the next couple of weeks. Our next weather system shows up overnight Saturday night through Sunday. Secondary round of that moisture comes Sunday night through Monday. All in, all done. 1/2 to 1.5 inch rainfall totals for Sunday and Monday. 100% coverage across Ohio. Behind that, we are chilly for Monday night. We stay chilly but dry for Tuesday the 1st. And our next weather system shows up Wednesday of this coming week with rain and thunderstorms again Wednesday through Thursday. There's potential for strong and heavy thunderstorm action. I'm being conservative right now, saying 1/2 to 1.5 inches. If some of these very strong thunderstorms work their way in here, easily over 2 inches of rain for next Wednesday night and Thursday. After that, we do not see temperatures fall off quite as far. We're still relatively mild to finish the week for Friday, and we are sunny and dry for Saturday the 5th, at least to start. Then for the 6th and 7th, we see our next weather system coming in. It is a slow cutoff low, so not just the 6th and 7th. We can see moisture linger through the 8th, 9th, and maybe even into the early 10th time frame. Over that multi-day period, an inch easily possible, maybe 2 in spots. And even if it's smaller rain totals, remember, we're not going to be drying quickly if there's moisture spread out that far. I'm Ryan Martin.
Thanks, Ryan. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more after this.
This is Dale Minio with the Ohio AgNet. For over 25 years, my truck has been running strong on biodiesel, reliable, high-performance fuel that keeps me on the road promoting agriculture. Every gallon helps power Ohio's economy, protect our environment, and support our hardworking soybean farmers. The best part? It works in any diesel engine. No modifications needed. Take it from me. Choose biodiesel and drive with purpose. Learn how at soyohio.org.
Taking a look at your agricultural headlines, coming up on Monday the 31st, the USDA will release 2 major reports out to the market at 11 a.m. Central Time. That's noon here. The Prospective Plantings Report and Quarterly Grain Stocks Report will serve to give a very early look into the production potential for spring-planted crops while also accounting for inventory still on hand from 2024. Now, perhaps no USDA release garners more speculation than that annual Prospective Plantings Report, and as a result, the day also carries an increased chance of volatile price action. Over the past 5 releases, nearby corn futures have averaged 12-cent moves higher the day of the release, including a 16-cent gain following last year's bullish surprise, which estimated corn acres about 2 million lower than they were on average trade guesses. For soybeans, the report has proven even more volatile, with a 72-cent gain following 2021's report and a 50-cent drop following the 22 report. Now, on Monday, the Dow Jones pre-report survey of 18 analysts is calling for 94.2 million acres of corn to be planted this spring. That's up from 90.6 in 2024 and in line with the 94 million acres which was unveiled in the Ag Outlook Forum last month. For soybeans, 83.3 million acres are expected. Again, this is in line with USDA's Outlook early estimates. Now, for wheat acreage, the Dow Jones survey is expecting 46.4 million acres between all the varieties. That's just over 300,000 more acres than it was in 2024. And by category, the allocation is expected to be 33.9 million acres of winter wheat, 10.5 of spring wheat, and 2.1 million acres of durum. Now, USDA estimates winter wheat acres at 34.1 million acres. That was back in the January seeding report. So there is expected to be a slight decrease there. Lastly, for cotton acres, the Dow Jones survey does not include analyst estimates, but USDA projected 25 acres at 10 million acres during the February Outlook Forum. Also in February, the National Cotton Council of America estimated the 2025 acreage at 9.6 million acres. So depending on the forecast, an 11% to 14% decrease in cotton acres from 24 is expected due to lower demand and lower prices through the 2024-25 marketing year. Also set to be released on Monday, the Grain Stocks Report may be overshadowed this time around by the often more touted plantings estimates. However, this report will offer the market a great deal of perspective on grain supplies in the U.S. as well as demand during the most recent quarter of the marketing season. Corn demand continued to be strong through the second quarter of the marketing year, that being December through February, led by a very strong export pace. And based on weekly Foreign Ag Service data, we can reasonably estimate exports during this quarter north of 650 million bushels, among the latest quarterly export performances on record, if that's true. They also expect ethanol usage for the period to have amounted to approximately 1.37 billion bushels of corn. Now, the most difficult category to estimate is feed and residual use, primarily due to the tricky residual component. However, they have estimated, based on historical use patterns and the current USDA estimates for the grain-consuming animal units, that this category should account for around 1.6 billion bushels of corn usage for December through February. For soybeans, the Dow Jones survey is calling for a 2.7% increase on the March 1st stocks to 1.895 billion bushels in Monday's release, and this implies a second quarter disappearance of soy of 1.205 billion bushels from that 3.1 billion bushels of stock that was reported on December 1st. Again, one of the strongest demand figures for the second quarter, if it's accurate. Now, we know from weekly USDA FAS data exports were likely near 509 million bushels over that period. Meanwhile, crush demand kept a record pace, which, using the NOPA data for February, we can estimate to have about a 619 million bushels through the quarter. Similar to corn, the tricky element of the equation is to predict seed and residual usage, and without getting too deep into the historical USDA protocols for handling soybean residual usage, it's guessed that the USDA will make a correction in the second quarter for a typical stout seed and residual estimate for the first quarter. Now, for wheat stocks, recall that the marketing year for the wheat runs from June to May, so the period of interest for wheat is the third quarter. Dow Jones is estimating on average for there to be a 1.22 billion bushel of wheat stocks on hand as of March 1st. That's a 12% increase over 2024 if true, and this implies a usage over the quarter of 350 million bushels. We know from FAS data that the wheat export shipments over the quarter were likely to be near 165 million bushels, and wheat usage through food typically allows an alternating up and down pattern for the second through the fourth quarters, and given the 249 million bushels used in the second quarter, an estimate of around 240 million bushels for the third quarter would be a fair assumption. Let's take a look at what's impacting our markets. Today's market analysis is brought to you by the Louis Dreyfus Company. Excited to be building the newest state-of-the-art soybean crush facility in Upper Sandusky, Ohio. Phone 574-566-2113 for information on soybean marketing to LDC. Here's Ryan Martin.
Grain markets finished today mixed on a Thursday. As we take a look at back yesterday's activity, first things first, it was weekly export sales report day, and that wasn't really all that exciting. We did have another sale of 40,000 metric tons of U.S. soy oil. Soy oil sales have risen to 2.01 billion pounds. That's 210 million pounds above the USDA's annual estimate. Overall, we're looking at probably seeing an increase on an upcoming WASDE for soy oil demand. The rest of the weekly export sales report reflected new sales of 3.7 million bushels of wheat, 40.9 million bushels of corn, 12.5 million bushels of soybeans. Crop years to date, the U.S. sold about 12% higher year-on-year on wheat. Corn up 24% year-on-year, beans up 13% year-on-year. China continued to ship out nearly 500,000 metric tons of U.S. beans. Less than 1 million metric tons are remaining as sold, but unshipped. The report, in my mind, was pretty much a boring report overall. Probably the biggest headline that hit the market yesterday was President Trump telling Big Oil and Big Ag, quote, hash it out. Get this biofuels mandate hashed out amongst yourselves. You got the ability to do it. Get it done. It sounds like the administration is supportive of biofuels, but doesn't want to get involved, leaving the two big industries to do it. Now, the market took this as a positive. It's part of the reason why soybeans were trading just a little bit higher yesterday, finishing double digits higher. I think the other part of this is still all of the increased corn planted acres talk. If there's corn that increases on planted acres, it has to come at the expense of beans. We haven't seen beans do much positive recently, and so I think that was a little bit of it spurred on by the biofuels thing. But otherwise, there's just not much out there. President Trump also saying yesterday, or putting into place yesterday, an additional round of tariffs on the automotive industry. This is going to impact Mexico and Canada directly as they produce U.S. auto parts and assemble light trucks and autos as well. So this is going to play into more of the April 2nd tariff talks that we're going to end up dealing with once this retaliatory round of tariffs goes back on. I'm Ryan Martin.
Thanks, Ryan. Well, let's take a look at what the overnight markets are doing now, brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. May corn is trading down 1 3/4 at $4.48 1/4. December new crop corn down 1/2 penny at $4.43 1/4. May soybeans trading down 3 cents at $10.13 3/4, with November new crop beans down 2.5 cents at $10.18, and new crop wheat for July down 2.5 cents at $5.44 3/4. At the close, live cattle were higher, lean hogs were lower. This is the Ohio AgNet.